Hi everybody, it's Juliet here. Welcome. Today we're going to be making this gorgeous springtime bracelet made out of these pretty Morganite beads, 6mm round beads that if you watched the last Beebeecraft unboxing that I did, I got those in that. And they have Morganite bead in the center of each flower, as you can see here. So it just makes a nice pastel color arrangement. You could also, you could use Flourite, mixed Flourite colored beads. Or if you wanted to do all one color, you could just use whatever gemstone you like, or even pearls. But I will put links for everything from Beebeecraft, including these Morganite beads that I'm using. And if you go to Beebeecraft, you can also get 10% off by using the code JULES10. So do make sure you go and check that out if you are interested in getting some of that Morganite. And also we are using today this set of 4mm bicones that also came from Beebeecraft, and I am using the pink here. I'm using this kind of aqua colored blue, and I felt like the green was too much, so I'm using this kind of gold right here. So these three are the ones that I am using. Again, this whole set came from Beebeecraft, so if you need some more 4mm bicones, highly recommend. They seem really nice quality. So yeah, you can see on the green ones here, right, I'm using the gold, and I just wanted to show you the progression here of design. Okay, so I started off and I had this concept that I wanted to do kind of a flower, maybe like that hung downwards, but then I was like, well, I can't even really, if it's hanging like that, you can't even see the Morganite. And I felt like it was covering a lot. So I did a second version where I covered a little bit less of the cone, but again, I was still having an issue. It didn't really look like a flower to me. So I thought, what if I add some petals? So I did this one and added some petals, and I was like, okay, that's cute. But my design wasn't quite working. So I did another one, finally figured out how to kind of get the petals to work. But again, the back was an issue, and I was like, well, how am I going to attach this, so that it stays facing forward? And then I was like, you know what, I'm just going to make it flat. So I made this version, and I just felt like if they were all white, it was just a bit blah. So then also I didn't like the way the here I used 11 O's, and I didn't really like, it was a little weird to me that there's like gold but you can't really see it. So I changed to 15 O's, and I added colored petals on the bottom to make each one pop a little bit more. And that is how we arrived at this design. So in case you think, oh, it's really easy to design, it isn't. It does take a bit of effort, okay? I just thought you might find that interesting. Okay, so here you can use whatever type of clasp you want. I'm kind of a little limited on my clasps that are gold now. I need to order some more. So I'm just using a simple toggle for mine, but you can see here the end just has a little loop of beads, and I've just attached a couple Jumprings. So you can really add whatever clasp you want onto here. Okay, I'll be back in a second and we'll get started. Okay, so you're gonna wanna make at least 6 flowers, possibly 7. I'm actually gonna make 2 blues to use as earrings, but you're gonna want 6 flowers minimum for your bracelet, okay? For each, we're gonna make a flower first, and then I'll show you how to connect them all together. So for my flowers, you're gonna use your whatever color bicone you want. Then you're going to need some white 11O seed beads. These can be Toho or Miyuki, whatever shade of white you like, okay? I'm using Toho 981, okay? Then you're going to pick a coordinating color for the bottom petals, okay? And again, it doesn't matter what brand this is, okay? So for my pinks, I used a Toho Permafinish 2105, I think that says. For my green one, I used Miyuki 172. And for my blue, I am using Miyuki 260. So I'm even mixing and matching. You know, I've got these two are Tohos, these two are Miyukis, so it doesn't matter, okay? And then you're going to need some 15Os, and I'm using gold. You could use silver, but you're going to want that to be like a metallic, okay? Kind of whatever color you're going to use for your clasp, I guess. And I am using Miyuki 1052. You could use Toho if you want, whatever, okay? So 15Os, 11s, 11s. Then you're going to need 6 bicones, 4mm bicones per flower. So if you're doing 2 of each color, you're going to want 12 of each color. And then you're going to need your 6mm gemstone or whatever you're using for the center of the flower. You can see in there, there's one, okay? And I am using today some Fireline 6-pound. You can use any beading thread that you prefer as long as you can get through your 15Os at least 3 times, okay? And yeah, you're gonna, so just make sure that, you know, you can get through those. And I am using a size 10. You may need to use a size 11, but I seem to be able to do it with a size 10, so beading needle, okay? All right, so to begin, we're going to pick up your 6, I'm doing a blue flower for the sake of this video, okay? You're gonna pick up your 6 bicones, you're gonna push those down, and you're going to leave about 4 or 5 inches tail at the end, okay? See? So push it down to where you're holding it, and then you're going to go through all 6 again, starting from your tail end in order to form a loop. Okay, so you make sure that there is a loop forming, otherwise you're just going to drop all of your beads off the end, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to pass one more time through that very first bead just to close up the circle, okay? And when you pull all of that, there we are. We have a little circle, and at this point, if you need to adjust it a little bit closer down to where your tail is, you can do that, which is what I'm doing. I'm just getting a little bit, I don't want to waste too much, so I've got about 4 inches here, okay? So once you have that, I like to hold it like this so that I can work in this direction because I'm right-handed, okay? You're going to pick up one 15O and you're going to sew into the next bicone. You're going to do that all the way around, so 6 times in total. Pick up 15O into the next bicone. Okay. And once you have added your 6 bicones on, your 6 15Os on, one in between each one, you're going to enter into the very first 15O that you just added, okay? Then we're going to pick up 3 of our white beads. And you're going to sew through the 15O again to make a little loop like this, okay? Then you're going to pick up 2 of your your 15s, 1 11, that's the colored 11, and 2 15s. So 15, 15, 11, 2 15s, okay? You're going to skip over the bicone and sew into the next 15O. And what you want is you want this line to sit above the white beads. So just make sure that it is sitting kind of in front like this. Okay, kind of push those back and pull that forward. And then you're going to pick up 3 more of your white beads. You're going to enter into that 15-0 that you're currently coming out of and enter in from underneath so that the white beads sit underneath. Okay. And then you're going to pick up your 2 15s, your colored 11, whatever color you're doing, and your 2 15s, okay? And again, you're going to skip over this bicone and jump into the next 15, and just keep those little lines of beads on top of the white, okay? And you're going to repeat that the whole way around, just picking up your 3 and then picking up your 2, 1, and your 2, okay? So I will go all the way around and I'll come back when I'm finishing that up. Okay, so I've just added my 6th little picot of white beads, and I have my next bit. And just when you're working, make sure you keep your starting tail underneath everything, so that it's actually technically on the top. This is the bottom, okay? So go ahead and finish that last little line. And again, just double check that everything is sitting the way it is. So the white ones are on the bottom and the gold or whatever color you're using is on the top. So it should look like this on the bottom. You have your starting tail sticking up, okay? And on the other side, it looks like this. All right, coming out from the 15-0 here, I'm going to go up the next little loop. So I'm going through the first 2 15s and into the 11. Okay, you're going to pick up your 6mm bead. Okay, I had to chase that one around. It's very hard to see the holes on these. Okay, so pick up your 6mm bead. You're coming out from your 11-0, and you're going to look across the way, directly across the other side of your flower. You're going to enter into that 11-0 that's on the other side, okay? And you're going to pull so that the 2 11s kind of pull in up against your gemstone. Then you're going to go back through your gemstone. So from where your thread was, just go back through again, okay? And then here, you can see that when I started, my thread came out of this side of this 11-0, so I'm going in the other side of the 11-0 where the thread is not, and that's going to form a little loop, and just tighten that up so that there's no gaps and your gemstone is just held in there, okay? Now we're going to pick up 5 of our blue beads, or whatever color you're doing, 5 of your colored 11-0s. You're going to sew again through the same bead that you're in right now, which is the blue bead, okay? Like this. It's just going to make a little loop. And then we're going to pick up 2 of our 15-0s, okay? And you're going to go, see this next blue bead that's out here? You're going to go into that bead, and you're going to pull him up next to the gemstone, kind of, okay? Like this. And then you're going to pick up 5 of your blue beads again. Okay, you're going to go through the same blue bead that you're coming out of. Again, just give it a little pull, tighten that up. And then again, you're going to pick up 2 of your 15-0s, and you're going to go into the next blue bead that's way over here, okay? Again, kind of try and pull it in towards the center, like this. You're going to pick up 5 more of your blue beads. You're going to go through the same bead that you're exiting from, and all the while I'm kind of pulling inwards, and then you're going to pick up your 2 15s, and the next bead is the bead that's attached onto the gemstone. So that's the bead that you're going to want to go through, okay? So you see how it's pulling in around our gemstone. We're kind of creating a bottom layer of petals here, okay? So you're just going to keep repeating this for 3 more petals. So you're going to do it in this one, then add 2. You're going to do it in this one, which will be up here, add 2, and that one, okay? So just repeat the whole way around. Okay, and then when you get to your last one, you have to add your 2, after you've done your petal, you have to add your 2 15 O's. And here you're going to go into the next blue bead plus the next 2 15 O's. So I'm going through the 11 here and the next 2 15 O's, okay? And give it all a nice little tug. And if your petals are pulling upwards, just squash them down with your thumb. Okay, so this is what it looks like. So you can see on the front that that's the look on the front, okay? And if you like the round flower on the bottom, that is an option for you, and I'll show you how to do that. But what I did was I actually made my petals pointy on mine. So I'm going to have to make mine pointy so that it matches. But so you can have an option to either make them pointy or you can keep them rounded. Okay, so you might like the rounded look a little bit better. It's up to you. Okay. All right, so coming out from your 2 15 O's right here, you're going to pass up the first 2 11s on your petal. Okay. If you want to keep the rounded look, go through all 3 of the next beads. If you want a pointy look, skip this middle one and just go down the next 2. And then you're going to sew through your next 2 15 O's. Okay, and you're going to do this the whole way around. So you just go up your first 2, or if you want rounded, you're going through all of them. If you're doing pointy like me, you're skipping that end one. Just make sure that he pops outwards, okay? And then you're going through your next 2 15s. Okay, so go ahead, do that the whole way around. So I have 4 more petals to do, so I'll come back when I'm just finishing my last one, okay? Okay, so I just came down my last 2 11s, my thread's coming out from the 11, and then you're going to pass through the next 2 15s, just like what we've been doing. Okay, so once you've got here, if you turn your flower to the side and push the petals up and down, okay, so we're on our threads on the bottom here, but we need to get up to the top. So you can see this is the 11, like we're coming out from this 15 right here, okay? There's an 11 and then 2 15s and then a 15 at the top here. So what you're going to do is you're going to go diagonal through so obviously approach from the bottom. You're going to go through that 11 and through the next 2 15s, and that's the easiest way to kind of approach. So don't worry about going through the top 15, just get through the 11 and those 2 15s. So make sure you start on the bottom so your thread is coming from the correct place, okay? And then when you're here, you can enter into that top 15, which is the one where your picot is attached to. Approach again from underneath and make sure you come out on the top, okay? That way, and make sure you're not getting your thread caught on your picot. Okay, so we're now back up on the top of our flower, and this is my starting tail right here coming out from this bicone, okay? So we're just going to sew through the next 3 bicones to get over there, and just make sure, again, you're not getting caught on any of your petals, okay? It's very easy to do. So you don't need to worry about going through the 15s, just go through the bicones. And now I've met my thread. All I'm going to do is just tie a square knot. So I just do right over left and left over right. Give it a nice tug. And then you're just going to sew through one direction, whichever way you want, through 2 of the bicones, okay? You can cut that thread off. And then you're going to rethread your needle, and you're going to sew the other direction through 2, and then cut your thread off. And then that will be your flower done, and then I'll show you how we're going to assemble our bracelet. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is work out how you want to lay out your design. So what I've done is I've started with some pink gemstones. So I've done pink, then a blue flower, then green, then a pink, blue, green, pink, blue, green, pink, blue, green. And that way your pinks are separated evenly, as you can see here. Your blues are separated evenly, and your greens are also separated evenly, so it just kind of spreads them nice and easily. And this is how many I am using. I think if you have a very large wrist, you could add 1 more flower on the end, and you know, not, well, if you need the beads, or you can take the beads off. It's kind of up to you at this point how you want to do it, but I'm ending with my beads here. And then obviously you can add a couple jump rings to lengthen your clasp if you need to, or a little bit of chain if you're doing like a multi-size bracelet. That's an option as well. Okay, so once you have your layout, I am just going to move these up here so that I know what I'm doing. I'll be back in a second. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put on a stop bead, and I'm using a bead that's not in my project, and I will take this off at the end, okay? So just go ahead and push that down, leaving your tail, so kind of a 4-inch tail at the end, and you're just going to sew through the bead again in order to form a circle, okay? And you can slide it down to wherever you need it to be for your tail. That's about right. That's just going to help us not have everything fall off at the beginning. So you're only going to need your 15 o's for this, okay? You're going to pick up your first flower in the line, okay? And flip it over, and you're going to sew up the left, if it's flipped over, the left-hand side of the point, okay? So see how there's a point? You're going up the left-hand side, and you're gonna just, that stop bead will stop it from pulling all the way out, okay? That's what that's there for. Now we're going to pick up, so if this is where we're connecting on, we're coming out kind of on the inside between the two, these 2 points are the points that are going to be connected. So I'm coming out on the inside of this bead, yes? You're going to pick up 1 of your 15 O's, and don't just ignore your end 2 beads for now, okay? You're going to pick up the next bead that you're going to go through, which for me is a green bead, and then 1 more 15 O. Okay, so 15 O, a bead, and 15 O. You can push that down, and then you're going to pick up your next flower. Okay, you're going to enter into the inside to the outside of the point that I'm connecting. If these 2 are my bottom points, I'm going from the inside to the outside, okay, like this. And then I'm going to pick up one more 15-0. I'm going to sew back through my green bead. And the two 15s are going to sit beside each other like this, okay? Then you're going to pick up your gold bead, 15-0. So I started coming out on that side, so I'm going to enter into the other side of that seed bead, the side that doesn't have the thread and the gold bead, okay? So then we have a join like this, okay? And then you're going to pass again through the left hand gold beads. So you're going through the left hand bead, you're going through the gemstone, and then the left hand bead on the second flower. And you're going to want to kind of pull them apart and then pull tight, and just make sure there's no slack in there. Everything is pulled tight, okay? So our next point we're going to connect is right here, okay? So to get there, you're going to sew through the 15-0. So I'm coming out from this gold, I'm coming out from the 15-0. You're going to sew through the point, the 11-0, towards the outside of your flower. And then I'm going to flip over so it's a little easier for you to see. You're going to go up through here, through these two 15s, through this 11, through these two 15s, and then up here and through the middle to get to this point right here. So we're skipping one point, okay? So you're just going through the two 11s, through the two 15s, and that kind of base 11 right there. Okay, and just be careful here. It's easy for your needle to come out underneath the thread, and you don't want that to happen. So if you need to go one bead at a time, go ahead and do that. Just be careful. Through the next two 15s and through the two 11s on the petal, and then I'm going through the 11. Okay, so there's our first two joined. So you're going to repeat. You're going to pick up a 15, your next, whatever color your next one is, okay, and another 15. You're going to pick up your next flower. So on here, I'm coming out on the inside edge, okay, so I'm going to enter into, if these are the two that I'm connecting, I'm going from the inside to the outside, okay. Then I'm going to pick up a 15, going back through my gemstone, pick up another 15, and then you're going into, so you can see I came out from here, I'm going into the other side where my thread is not. So there we have that, okay? Give it all a pull, make sure there's no slack. Then you're going to pass into that left hand 15 through the gemstone, through the left hand 15 on this side, and through the point bead. Then you're going to wait, flip it over, flip it over. You're going to follow the way your thread is pointing, okay? We're going to do the same thing. We're going down our two petals, beads. We're going through the 1, 2, and then up through the next petal. And if you want to make a necklace, this would also work. You could just connect one side and not do the other side. Okay, so it makes a nice little necklace like that. If you're doing a necklace, okay. I wouldn't connect opposites. I would connect, yeah, the kind of twos like this. I just think it looks better, okay. And all right, anyway, onward. So you're going to go all the way, repeat this until you get down to your last flower, and I'll come back at that point and show you what to do next. Okay, so once you've gotten to your last flower, you're going to give it a little pull and just make sure that none of them are twisted. And also a word of warning, when you're connecting your flowers, make sure they're the right way up and not upside down. And yeah, you just want to pull, and if you went correctly, you know, through the circle, the 15 O's will sit nicely. If you've been twisting it around, they're going to sit kind of crooked. Okay, so try to keep your, you'll know when it's straight because your 15 O's, when you give it a little pull, will want to sit straight. Okay, and you're going to have to be careful on the way back that you're not twisting anything around either. Okay, all right, so when we get to the end here, it's very simple. We're just going to pick up a 15 O. We're going to pick up our next bead. So for me, I'm using a pink. And then you're going to pick up 7 of your 15 O's. Okay, so that is 7, okay? And then you're going to pick up your next pink bead, or whatever color you're using, your next gemstone, and one more of your 15 O's, okay? And you're going to push all of that down. So I'm coming out the inside of my bead here. I'm going to enter into the inside to the outside of my end bead, okay? So I'm going from the inside towards the outside. And that's important because you want to be able to continue working back the way you came in the same way. So pay attention to that. Then you're going to pick up another 15 O. You're going to go back through your gemstone. You're going to go back through your 7 15 O's. And this little loop here is what we're going to attach our jump ring onto. And that way you can change your clasp if you need to. You can add extra links if it's too short. So this is just going to make it a little bit more flexible for our clasp options. And then you're going to pick up one more. Here I came out from the inside, so I'm going from the outside of this bead to the inside to add the other 15 O on, okay? And then I'm going to go back through the inside bead, back through my gemstone, and all the way back through all of these beads. And this is why I'm saying you may need to use a size 11 needle if you're struggling to get through. I'm using size 6 Fireline and it's fine. If you were using anything heavier, you may struggle here. Here you're going to want to go through the inside bead when you get to the other end. Okay, and then you're going to sew from the inside to the outside through your that end 11 O right there, okay? And then you're in a position now to just sew forward through the petal over to here, okay? Just like what you've been doing all the way along. You're just going to pass through those 2 15s, the 11, the next 2 15s, and then up through your next petal, and then pass through that point as well, okay? Okay. Make sure it's all laying correctly. I think it is. Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to add, it's exactly the same going back this way. It's actually a little bit easier because it's already, you know, kind of half done. So you just do exactly the same thing coming out the inside here. So I'm going from the inside to the outside on the other side. Just pick up your other 15-0. You're going to go back through your gemstone. Then here you pick up your next 15-0, and again I can see that I came out that side of the bead, so I'm going into the other side of the bead to add my second 15-0 there. Okay, and then I'm on the inside, so I'm going to go through the inside beads, both here and here. I'm going through that petal bead. Being careful not to get looped right here. And then I can just work my way down to my next point here, okay? And that way your whole bracelet will be joined together, and when you get to the other end, just do the exact same thing that you did on this end. Okay, so I'll come back when I finish that. Okay, so welcome back. I have just added my last little end section on here, okay? One thing I want to point out is it is important when you start, you're always starting on the inside of the bead. You're looping around and then you're looping back up, and that puts you on the inside so that you can move to the outside and move along. So you don't want to do it, try and be clever and think, oh, it doesn't matter if I start on the inside or the outside. It does matter. You have to come out like on the inside side, okay? And also, if you're twisting your threads around, these are not going to sit nice and flat. See how they're sitting nice and flat for me? If you're twisting your threads around, these are not going to sit flat like this, okay? So that's why it's important. So I've just finished here. I went up, went in the inside, and I've come out. Now all I have to do to finish is take my stop bead off from my starting thread, which is coming out from the petal right here. So I just need to work through here, and then I can meet up with my thread, tie a knot, and then weave in the ends, and I will be finished with the sewing portion of the bracelet. And then all that's left is to attach on whatever kind of clasp that you have chosen to use. So I'll just sew this in really quickly, and then I'll come back. Okay, so on beadwork, whenever possible, I like to put 2 jumprings just in case one, you know, the thread slips or something like that. So I put 2 jumprings, and then because of the direction that my clasp is, I have another one, and then I have my end clasp, so that's what I'm doing on this end. So I just attached 2 jumprings already onto my little line of beads, and then I can just put that through with my other toggle. And if you need a little extra space, you can always add a couple more jumprings or a little piece of chain. If you want to make it adjustable, that's an option. But like I say, I like to have at least 2 jumprings that connect onto the beadwork area. For me, it just seems to be a little bit better. Okay, so here we are, and here is my springtime bracelet, and I'll give you a quick measurement on it if you're curious. So that would fit about 7.5 inch. Well, it's about 7.5 inches long, so it's going to fit kind of a 7-inch wrist. Anyway, yeah, I think it's really pretty. I'm very pleased with how it came out. I love these Morganite gemstones. I love how it came out. I think it's really nice. Anyway, so go and check out Beebeecraft. Don't forget to use the discount code if you do go and get 10% off anything you order with the code Jules10, okay? And I will see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye.